I think there's good reason to assume that the volume of content on this YouTube channel needs to speed up quite a bit, especially as we're approaching the singularity, which I think there's good reason to think January 2025 is kind of the kickoff of the singularity. Like, we just had the NVIDIA event where they launched super powerful computing, like literally the new Blackwell chip has 1.4 exaflops of compute on a holdable chip. It's a quite small chip, to be honest, for that much compute. We also had them launch the Digits micro supercomputer that can fit in the palm of your hand. The O3 mini model is coming out next week, which is going to be more powerful than the O1 standard model, and it's pretty much smarter than 90% of humans. Now imagine that. It's a fast model. It has quick inference speed. Imagine that with digital legs. It has computer use features and it can literally operate your computer just like you could. And by Q3, I'm willing to bet that it operates your computer better or just as good as you can. So that will be here quite soon. And probably the biggest news of all is the Manhattan project of our time that was just announced, the $500 billion data center for AI that was just announced. And that's not even the crazy part. That's not the crazy part. The crazy part is while we just announced literally on the same magnitude of a Manhattan project for the time that we're living in today, there was one single reporter that asked one single question, and that is it, about what does that mean? What is happening right now? What is AI? Why do we have $500 billion going into this data center? Like that, if that doesn't say everything about society right now and how like attention spans have been squished and how only like 0.001% of the population has any idea of what's going on right now, I don't know what else does. Like, there was only one question from one reporter about that topic, the Manhattan Project of our time. If like, I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss for words. I guess the only thing I should be taking away from that is like, the people paying attention to this YouTube channel, we have first mover advantage. We're in a pretty good position. I do wish more people were aware, so this transition would be a bit smoother. But I guess I can't really control that. The best thing I can do is continue making these YouTube videos and hope people watch them. So nonetheless, let's keep moving ourselves. Let's adapt with the technology and maximize our positions in the future, and hopefully everybody else continues to do so as well. That being said, I think things are going to only get faster from here. The chief product officer from OpenAI already mentioned the O4 model, and they said the jump from O1 to O3, that jump is going to be the same from O3 to O4. And if we have another one from O4 to O5 that is the same magnitude, it's hard to say what human is still smarter than that. At least at most things, right? It's maybe at some very niche micro things, like within the nooks and crannies of specific places, we don't have enough data to reach some like very edge use case of like doing something very niche within a very specific spot. Maybe there will be places where we don't have data there, where people can have like intellectual alpha and superiority over this model slightly. But things with the new Titans transformer architecture that is coming out from Google, the Titans architecture that has more of like continuous intuitive learning that can adapt and learn in real time, I think that will probably solve that issue. Not gonna lie. And then everybody who had IP, or not IP, but just like intellectual alpha with Endo's nooks and crannies, will not have them anymore. So nonetheless, it's hard to tell what will still be valuable for humans to do in the future besides literally just owning the infrastructure that is this technology, like owning compute, owning large language models, owning energy technology, owning robotics, and then deploying these technologies to automate the economy and then gaining profits from you doing so. I think that's obviously where these things are heading, and that's how we should be adapting. Also, I think as long as this trend continues, like the $500 billion that is being allocated to OpenAI, and Elon already has basically $500 billion to his personal net worth, these things I expect will continue to happen. And I'm willing to bet that both of these individuals by like 2030, both of them could be worth probably like $1 trillion. And at that point, it's like all we really need to do is say, how can we make sure we get a piece of the pie? Like, how can we deploy this technology to make sure that we are providing enough value to make sure that we are receiving enough value for ourselves as well, so that we can maximize our positions and experience the great things that happen in the future. And I think it's quite evident at this point, especially with the pace of this technology and how things are unfolding, the online community business model will be the last standing online business model. I think their community business will be something that kind of like manifests into different types of things. Kind of like my approach is to build a Web3 community business model where you have like literally blockchain embedded into everything. Everything is super decentralized, and the community can innovate within the environment, the product that you were building for them, the place of abundance, the place of resources that they can leverage to build their own technologies or build their own things. I think that's going to be one of the best business models moving into the future, is like, how can we have a community where we have a lot of resources for people to build different technologies, also help each other adapt with the changes, and really just like accelerate everything forward as a community that is decentralized from first principles. I think that is definitely the last online business model. Like, software is not going to exist. No online agencies or done for you services are going to exist. I don't see the reason I would have any consulting company. Like, I wouldn't personally hire a consultant ever again, just because the AI is a far better consultant than any consultant I could possibly hire. Web3 communities, on the other hand, if you make the community valuable enough and you have like a productized community, that can be quite effective, to say the least. And at that point, all we are really doing is setting up our personal foundations, like building an audience, building a community, and then building a distributed computing infrastructure is what I plan on doing. I plan on having, for the community, infrastructure that we can all hook up our compute to, have our distributed interconnected computing nodes to create a cloud supercluster that any single person in our community can use, so that we can all, as a community, have access to the most powerful models in the future. And then at that point, everything else we'll be doing is within the world of atoms. As long as we're maximizing our individual compute, building our personal communities, everything else will be done within the world of atoms, and we'll basically just go to our AI that we have been allocating compute to and ask it what we should be doing. What should we be building that would benefit us the best and align with our values the most? And at that point, that being said, if I were you, and basically I'm just sharing what I'm doing, is I would start building an audience. I think audiences will always be valuable. I do think certain social media platforms will be overtaken and overrun by AI. But if you have an audience and people that recognize your name, any other platform that comes out, you can just move to. And I'm very confident that we will have proof of personhood platforms where it's humans only. Like, that will be like the new privacy policy. If you know much about social platforms, the reason a social platform usually takes off is because it has a new privacy policy. And if there's like an only human platform with proof of personhood technology that makes it so only humans can be on there, I think that is actually an extremely good business model, and that community platform will take off quite well. So the privacy policy will incentivize humans only, which will give you again another place to build an audience, build a community, and at that point we're basically just allocating compute and with the community and building whatever we can imagine. Obviously, some of this is still abstract, but in a not too distant future, all of this will be like, oh, of course, this is what to do. Of course, all of these other business models won't exist, and this is the best business model. What else would there be to do? Like, the other business models won't exist. Like, theory of constraints follow to the logical conclusion. The agency business won't exist. The software company won't exist. The only businesses that will exist will be e-commerce, community businesses, and in anything within the world of atoms, like manufacturing or hardware. But even e-com won't exist over a long enough time horizon because of 3D printing. So it's really like community businesses and hardware businesses. And the best way to start a hardware business is to start a community business, because now you can bootstrap the hardware business with the capital you make from the community business and not have to raise capital for the hardware business. So it's a very thought through process. There is a method to my madness, and that's the reason why I'm wanting everybody that's watching this YouTube channel to start a community business, because it'll be better for you. Again, just kind of sharing what I'm doing. You don't have to if you don't want to. There's a reason why I'm doing it, because I've been thinking about these things for years, and I don't see a better option. And yes, AI will eventually become far better than me at identifying opportunity vehicles, and it'll say, here's a better opportunity vehicle. But if I don't have the leverage, if I don't have the resources to maximize on that opportunity, it doesn't matter, which is why I'm focusing on first principles of like, how can I maximize my resources? Which the only resources we should be maximizing is our network, our community, compute, energy, and access to AI. Like, that is the only thing we should be maximizing in this point. If we are maximizing those things, we're going to be good. And at that point, once as we have AI that is super powerful, we just go to the AI and be like, all right, here's my resources. Let's get moving. And it'll help you allocate those resources, which is why you should be finding resources sooner than later. Which is kind of the point of this entire YouTube channel, if you haven't noticed already, is to get people moving. Like, well, yes, there's only 0.001% of the population who is aware of what is happening right now. That doesn't mean it's time to sit down and watch the economy and watch this stuff play out. Like, that is the last thing anybody should be doing right now. Is just like, okay, I'm going to opt out of the economy. Let's just sit here and watch this play out and then accept UBI. Like, what does accepting UBI mean? That means you now have another human that has leverage over your life. Literally, that is the definition of communism. You now have somebody who can dictate what you do because all they have to do is remove that source of your well-being. That's like, imagine we have like universal basic food, and then they stop giving you food because they don't want you to have it anymore, but you don't have any self-sufficiency because you've been relying on somebody else giving you food. Now you die. That is why communism is a bad thing. That is why UBI is a bad thing, or not a bad thing, but it isn't a thing you should solely rely on, to say the least. So, again, I reinstate what I said earlier. I suggest you take action sooner than later because these things are coming fast.